Oh, Mr. Brad Hartlin, thank you very much for joining the podcast. How are you?
Great, thanks. My pleasure.
I'm very grateful to have you in the podcast in the studio, in the middle of a pandemic. Just to be able to sit down and have a conversation with you. I'm very grateful for you to come in. So thank you for that.
It's awesome. Yeah, this would be my third podcast this week. So it's been
This week?
Yeah, I did one with Collectible, which I don't know if you know, it's a fractional ownership company they're based out of New York.
Oh yeah.
So they trade fractional ownership sports memorabilia all across the world.
No way.
It's a huge company. Ezra is the president, started it. They're super guys, and it's pretty cool to check out.
Well, we had a guy on here the other day, Dale Hubhley? Sure, yeah, and Dale
Hubhley.
And we were talking about sports grading.
Yeah.
And some guy messaged me on Instagram, was like, you guys have to get this guy on, Brad Hartlin. He's the best in the biz in Halifax. And I said, all right, that sounds good. He sent me your email.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the guy's Instagram account. It was just, it didn't have his actual name. It must have been his business name. And he just sent it. And I was like, all right, well, let's do it. Let's see what happens. So
awesome.
And you just got here and we've been talking for like 10 minutes and the amount of people that we know, unbelievable. You used to be in the restaurant business. So you're in the beer business. I know a lot of people in the beer business, and it's just another story of Halifax, small world.
Absolutely.
We know everybody. So I'm excited for this. And I found out you played hockey. You played in the Q.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where'd you grow up?
Spryfield, right here.
No.
Absolutely. JL Ilsley alumni. I grew up in Williamswood.
Okay.
We're still,
Yeah.
I always say Spryfield. I'm proud.
Yeah.
So I played Ilsley. Played hockey at Ilsley for 2 years. Then I went and played Mcdonald's midget AAA.
Me too.
Yeah, we went to the Air Canada Cup that year. We had a great team. We went 2-3 out there. Came back, and then I was drafted by Beauport in the first round, by St. Hyacinthe. I went to St. Hyacinthe, and 3 months later, I just wasn't happy. It was a long story.
Yeah.
We could chat about it sometime, I'm sure. So I left there, came home, played with Jimbo, Junior A here, and then I got traded to Beauport. And I went to Beauport, and I played the rest of the year and then the start of the next year. So I had 50, 60 games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you must know Troy Ryan.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys
100%.
you guys must have grown up together.
Yeah. So he's a little bit older. I'm 45. He's my brother's age. My brother's 48.
Okay.
So Troy's right around that. But yeah, Troy would always be traveling back to hockey with my parents. And
no way.
Troy grew up just in Klein Heights.
Yeah.
So just up there.
I just moved here 2 years ago. I love it.
Oh yeah.
We just bought the place 2 years ago in March, like the month COVID hit, and I just love it.
Yeah.
It's a great community.
No, we had a lot just up. I think it's number 4. No, it would be an odd number because it's on that side. 4 or 5 punch bowls where we had a lot of high school and post-high school parties there. It was a party house. My buddy Cookie, former football player at JL Ilsley, he rented it, and we have I've got a lot of great memories coming from Punch Bowl Drive, that's for sure.
Do you ever skate on the pond?
No, never did.
No way.
And when I drove in, I knew it's been mild lately, but I looked at it and I was like, it's not really.
No.
Like, I was surprised it's not froze over.
I was on it 2 days ago, and I walked out to the middle, but the rule of thumb is 4 inches, and I was looking at 3. So I was like, all right, let's get off here, and then it's been mild, so it's been melting. But and then I think next week we're supposed to get some cold weather, so hopefully. But I skated on it for the first time last year. Unbelievable the amount of people that came out. It was great. Garbage can right to your right there, I think. So the game of card grading.
Yeah.
You're involved in it.
Yeah.
You're highly praised in the card grading game. How did you get involved in that?
So I've dealt with cards my whole life. My first store I had when I was 15 years old. I bought it from a guy, Benny Devine, another guy who was in the Spryfield Mall, which was the South Center Mall at the time. So I had that store just as I was going into high school, and that would have been in 1989. 90. So I've been in the card business my entire life.
No.
On and off. Obviously, we had a 20-year run in the restaurant nightclub business, which was awesome. And then COVID hit, and the writing was on the wall before that the novelty of owning a bar wore off probably 6-7 years ago. And it was a grind, and it was always a struggle. Again, I wouldn't change anything for it. All positive experiences at the end. So when COVID hit and we shut down, I made the decision. I said, you know what? I'm going back to what I've always done and always been a part of, but I just love it. I'm going to wake up every morning and do something that I want to do, and I want to go to work. So I started with my partner, Sherry, and we kind of amped up AMG collectibles, and I started traveling, buying, selling cards, and then I took over PSA Canada really officially in January, but I started the process in November of last year, 2 years ago now. Sorry. Okay. So I ran PSA Canada all of last year, which was an incredible experience. We submitted about 300,000 cards. I mentioned to you earlier last year. We're top 5 PSA submitter in the world, and now we talk daily with PSA back and forth. There's lots of new exciting things coming down the pipeline, and it's been a fun process.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it at 15 years old that got you hooked?
Buying and selling. Like I think it's my parents had a hardware store here in the Herring Cove Road and a painting company, which my brother runs today. It was always that buying and selling and just the whole being an entrepreneur and making money. Right. Yeah. So you buy a card. It wasn't like it is today, but you buy a card for $5, you sell it for $10. I bought the store from Benny. I think it was $2,500 at the time. I can't remember for sure.
Sorry, you bought the store for $2,500?
$2,500. It was a small store in the South Center Mall. So I think the deal was he wanted to get out. He wanted to pursue some other things, and he did it as a hobby. Super guy. He's fat. He still works with covers.com, I'm sure. Him and Paul Lavers and Joey McDonald, another huge Spryfield success story. Like probably one of the best Spryfield business success stories there is.
Who's this? Joey McDonald?
Yeah, so Paul Lavers, Joey McDonald, Billy Organ, and Benny was always in that circle with the guys. They started, I don't know if it was initially, I think it was initially covers.com right from the beginning, but they might have changed the name to Covers. So Covers, they started just down on the Herring Cove Road was their first office above a building that my dad used to own. And they started doing sports picks and bets, and then they kind of giving people advice. They had subscribers, and then their subscriptions grew. Then they started to provide information. They became more of a sports betting information. So if you go to Vegas now, you still see you pick up a sheet. It's from covers.com that was based here in Halifax.
No.
So they sold the company out. I mean, you could read about the details. I forget exactly if it was 40, 50 million, 60 million, something like that. Back 3 or 4 years ago. And I think Benny still works for them now. And Benny wasn't part of the original ownership group, but I always associate it with them. He was one of the guys. But at the time, I think he was focused on he was a mailman, and he was focused on that, thinking, I'll just hang out with the guys still. Let these guys go over here, and I'll start my career.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they're based, Paul Avers grew up on Leveland Park, Billy Organ, Joey, all in Spryfield.
Are they still here?
Billy's in Ireland, I think, now. I haven't seen him lately. I seen Paul Lavers last year out at Ashburn. But that's another awesome story.
Okay, very good to know.
So, yeah.
I'm assuming a lot of people love to do what you're doing, the card grading business. What makes a guy like you more successful than the average Joe? What was it about you that allowed you to separate yourself?
Yeah, so my thing coming into the space, there's a lot of players in the space. PSA, Professional Sports Authenticators, is based in Santa Ana, California. They've taken a dominant position in the marketplace. So when you look at a card being graded now by the other companies, SGC, Beckett, there's probably a dozen other companies out there now that are in that space grading cards. But the market has dictated that PSA has led by example. They're just a dominant space. You could get a card graded by a local grading company in Canada that doesn't do a bad job, but say you had a Gretzky rookie. You could have it graded by them as a 10 gem mint. It sells for probably $25,000. A PSA 10 sold for $5 million.
Wow, so they just have that standard.
They have the standard. There's reasons. The amount. It's not just like some guy looks at a card, they put it in a case. It's like a 12-step process that the card goes through. People tend to forget now that it's the number one thing when they all started was to authenticate a card. So you wanted to make sure the card was real. That was kind of the intentions, and then they got on to the numerical grades. So now most people just say, is it a 10, is it a 9, is it 8? They kind of forget about the initial part of it was authenticate it, right?
Do you have time to talk about the process? You said there's 12 steps?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, so, I mean...
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. All good?
One of those cards over here, let him do it. The 12 steps.
Okay, well, just one sec.
Yeah.
I'm assuming a lot of people know these 12 steps.
Yeah, they kind of do. The big... the process the card goes through when it reaches PSA is a 12-step process.
That you have to do to send to them?
No. So what we do, we receive. So more or less, we're their official agent for the country. If you go on psacard.com, you click on Canada, up pops my name, my email, my cell phone number, which was a very interesting thing to do when we first did that. It was like, yeah, we can do this. PSA has 1,000 employees now. Right now it's myself and Sherry with PSA Canada, but you can imagine there was a day that I said, I don't even know what we possibly can do, but it was 400 emails in a day, and my phone just didn't stop ringing. So I called my contact at PSA. I was like, I'm good with this. Like, we'll try to get to everything we can, but like, this is just crazy. So now we've been talking with them back and forth. We're going to expand the operations in Canada, and there's some different possibilities that could come out of it. Like, we're going to have an office probably in Ontario. It will be, it's central. So that's the next steps of the evolution of PSA Canada. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Do you ever get people pissed off saying that's not a 7, that's not a 6? There's a lot of people like questioning your judgment?
Oh, all the time. So one of the services that I tend to offer to people, and I try, so we set up at the Montreal show. There's 2 shows in Montreal, 2 in Toronto. There's the new Edmonton Expo, which just got announced. We're also going to do Vancouver. So what I really wanted to do is the difference is, well, someone could send the card in themselves and not even bother coming through us if they wanted to. You can send direct to PSA. I wanted to use kind of my expertise, my knowledge to educate people to make sure they made the right choice. At the last Toronto show, I probably turned away at least 200 cards for people that they wanted to submit, but I said it's not financial. If you're looking to sell the card to make money, it's just a bad decision. You're not going to make money by grading this card. Grading prices are high right now because service levels. PSA faced a backlog last year. Between February and April, they received 15 million cards.
Do you think that it's something to do with COVID and like people just looking at their old cards, something like that?
It did, and people were grading everything.
Yeah.
So it was, but you could grade everything because the cost was at, in the States, $7-8. We were $10 a card to send a card in. So it didn't matter. Like, whatever you could go to Walmart, buy a box of cards, open it up, you pull out a Zion, a John Moran, RJ Barrett on the basketball side. You pay $10 to grade it. You get the card back. If it comes back at 9, you're getting $40 for it. If it comes back at 10, you're getting $100 or $200 for it. So this cycle was on, and guys were just making. I mean, it was such a big thing. And not to jump around to topics, but it was so crazy that Walmart and Target actually stopped putting cards out in their stores.
I saw videos on YouTube of people fighting in Walmart based on people going and buying in bulk and just ripping the whole shelf out, taking all the cards, and then the guy behind him was like, "What are you doing, man? Like, give me something."
Yeah,
it
happened here. Yeah, and it happened all across North America. And in Halifax, there's certain guys out there that dominated the Walmart's distributors distribute the cards to Walmart's. They come in on certain days, they fill the shelves. So they would know who these people were. They'd follow their cars around. They'd know when they came in. But when you can see, it's just because it was so lucrative. All of a sudden, a box would come into Walmart for $30, a box of Prism. You buy it for $30. That day, you sell it for $120. So you can see when you're getting multiples 3-4x on your money, that creates this crazy demand, and it created this whole. There was young people, old people, women, men. Like, it was just insane.
It's a simple business plan.
That's it, and it's a liquid market, right?
It doesn't take a genius.
Yeah, you go home, you list it on Kijiji, you sell it on eBay, boom, it's sold, it's gone, you made your money.
Wow.
And there was like literally hundreds of people doing it. Like, there's guys that would case out. They knew that the Glasgow Walmart was on these days, and it was nice. And guys made, not little bits of money. Guys made tens of thousands of dollars doing this, right? Some guys made hundreds of thousands of dollars. Guys in the States made, literally millions of dollars by buying sports cards.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's come down a little bit like now. So what that happened is it created this at PSA, this 15 million cards show up. They actually shut down the United States Postal Service in Santa Ana, California. We're like, we can't accept any more packages, because you can just imagine, like, it was so lucrative, and every card that's graded by PSA is done in Santa Ana, California. So we're PSA Canada. We send all our cards there. Every person sends there. PSA Japan sends there. PSA Lutkins in Europe sends all their cards. So everything's going in there. Plus, you get every person across the U.S. and a lot of people in Canada that weren't using our services just mailing their cards in because you get them back. And this created that's 15 million card backlog. So as you can imagine, PSA they had new ownership group bought PSA for $1 billion in January.
Congrats to PSA.
Yeah. It was a publicly traded company. I think the shares were at $30. $30 a share. The buyout was at 90. So like 3x on the share price.
Wow.
So the shareholders made some good money and they went ahead. But the first thing they did is they realized we got to shut this thing down. Right? Because what can we? Because they couldn't
handle the demand.
Couldn't handle the demand.
I'm picturing just a sweatshop right now of a bunch of people opening cards. Is that correct? Like, have you been to the?
Yeah. So I flew down. I've been there 4 times now. Like it's a huge operation. Like I said, it's 1,000 employees now. But
where are these employees? Are they all at like a common table like this, just down a line?
Oh no, it's like it's. You could say it's like Fort Knox. Like I mean, every day they're grading cards that are millions and millions of dollars. Like it's
security everywhere.
Oh, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's almost located in like if you drive into a Bears Lake Industrial Park, and then there's these massive glass buildings, and it goes and they took the building next to it. It's huge, like massive site.
That's crazy.
So they had the capabilities of grading, say 5,000-10,000 cards a day, and all of a sudden things started to really pump up in 2021 and. In the 2020 towards the end. And they're like, so they started to get a backlog, which in business, it's okay. If you have a backlog, you can keep still turning things around. But all of a sudden in that 3-month period, 15 million cards come in and your capacity is 20,000. At that time, probably say even 20,000, 15,000 cards a day. You're like, well, what can we possibly do? We'll never get out of this backlog because we have the current ones coming in. So they shut down all services. And just concentrated on getting packages opened. So there's some cards still at PSA now that people sent in a year ago that haven't been graded.
So they're frustrated.
Very, very frustrated. So the one that I could say with that, so PSA, us being one of their largest submitters, all our cards from all our customers, we got them all back. I think they're all back in everyone's hands in November. So we had about an 8 months was our max turnaround. Some guys are a year and a half. So yeah, so that was good. They did take care of us, and we were able to move forward.
A professional like yourself, how long does it take to grade one card? Look at this card, to look at a card.
Yeah.
Like how long would that take?
So honestly, this is a Matt Sunday 90 Upper Deck rookie card. So when you take a look at
that was nasty what you just did. That was unreal. That was very. Did you get that on camera?
So when you look again, you. Being my entire life dealing with cards, like this is something that had no value. It was worth 50 cents. Matt Sunday, 90 upper. All of a sudden, grading came by, and you could grade this card. If you get a 10 from PSA on it, I'm going to say $150, $150. But you spent 10. So this created all this stuff that everyone had that was told was worthless for all these years. All of a sudden now you could grade them and you could make money. So you would have a box of these, being a hockey guy, most people have a box of cards and you just feel like, yeah, they're not worth anything. So all of a sudden you look at a card and you say, I wonder if I can get a 10 on that. So like this card's got a little touch on the top corner.
What do you mean a touch?
Just a little touch on the top corner. So when you look in, if you go on a certain angle, it was just lifted a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Very minor. But again, so regardless if that was a card now, it costs $230 Canadian to grade a card. So like this, you just never would submit this now. But if grading was at $10 and this card's perfect, like I said, you want to invest $10 to take a chance, comes back at 9, it's still worth say 30, right? So you're still making money. So that's what created this craze, right?
Interesting.
Take off like a full point.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like so when you look at the difference from an eye, like there's a touch on that corner too. From a difference between on a new modern card, the difference between an 8, 9, 10, really not a whole lot. Everything's magnified. You got to put it under a loop. You got to know what to look for. Scratches, like on the back on these Upper Deck cards, the hologram that was there, if there's any sort of a scratch on that, that's one of the things that a grader would look for. So you could say, you could pull it right out of the pack and they're scratched. So like that's one thing you want to educate people. They're like, oh, it's mint. I just opened it out of the pack. That doesn't work that way.
That's crazy. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So
I still love the look of that card. It's one of my favorite cards.
He just brought it in today. We were gonna go. I was gonna go down to Walmart today and pick up a pack of cards and get you to open it, but I didn't have the car this morning. But
no sweat.
That's unbelievable. So it really does. It's you just see things really quickly and understand whether or not it's a 10 or if it's going to be. It takes 1 second.
Yeah. So look, obviously the biggest card in Canada, the Grail card in Canada is the 79 O-Pee-Chee Wayne Gretzky rookie card. So that's a card that we submitted. I'm going to say 300-400 probably Gretzky's in the last year, maybe even more. Maybe even the number is 700-800. I'm not exactly sure. I know at the Toronto show that we just did in November, we received 121 Gretzky's rookies from clients. So we've got them all back now. The highest grade, we did have an 8 come back. A couple PSA 8s came back. A lot of 7s, a lot of 6s, and then a lot of 1s, 2s that people kind of knew what they were going to be when they sent them in. So
wow.
Yeah.
So these people that own these cards that are worth, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And maybe they do want to make a buck on it. Maybe they don't want to make a buck on it. What's these people's mindsets when they go to these shows? Do they want it just for bragging rights? Or is there a part of them that goes, I'm done with it? Or is there a part that wants to give it to their child? Like, what are these people's mindsets that have these cards and are of ownership?
Yeah. So it's all over the map. But at the end of the day, people see when all of a sudden you've seen I think it was 3.7 million US. So let's say 5 million Canadian, one of the 2 PSA 10 Gretzky's sold for. That, and it went, now cards are mainstream media. It was on CNN, it was on CTV News, it was on TSN. Kenny Reed's one of the best advocates of sports cards. There is a close buddy of mine.
Is he?
We chat. I mean,
no way.
I don't want to say daily, but weekly back and forth. And he's a true, there's no one that loves the game of hockey as much as he does. And he's a true collector.
I didn't know he's maybe I did. He's active on Twitter, and I'll look at his tweets a lot. And he follows us on Instagram, too.
Yeah. So, but we got a Gretzky rookie graded for him about 4 years ago. Came back a PSA 8. I won't get into the dollar values. He might not want me to share that. At the time, I was like, yeah, I can sell it for you today. And I said, I can get you an obscene amount of cash. And at the time, that was a $4,000 in that range. And he's like, what should I do? I'll just take your advice. I'm like, sell it. Like, you get like I don't mind.
Was he working for Sportsnet at the time?
Yeah.
Though? Okay, yeah.
I said, you get $4,000 for this card. It's a Gretzky rookie. I've had hundreds of them and bought and sold them. And an 8 used to sell for $1,000. And today, so that was 3-4 years ago. Today, an 8's about 25 to 35K. So some bad advice I gave my buddy. He always makes fun. Should I sell it? Oh boy!
Wow.
Yeah. So that's it. So there's the prime. When people look at the marketplace and you can kind of see what cards and the dollars they bring in, I'll say this information as of this week. There's 2 PSA 10s graded in the world. So there's, out of all the Gretzky submitted, say there was 10,000 Gretzky submitted, 2 came back PSA 10s. They were graded a while ago, I'd say 10, 15 years ago. There's a lot of speculation when people look at those cards, and you can see the images of them online, and you could take a look, and they're like, mine's better than that. Mine's better than that.
Can you look it up?
Yeah. You'll have a lot
on the
pictures.
TV.
Yeah.
So what does he type in? PSA Gretzky 10?
PSA 10 Gretzky, yeah.
PA, okay. Yeah. And who are the people that get to, is it one individual that gets to grade that, or does it have to go through a lot of eyes?
So any big cards now, they go through a lot of eyes look at that.
How many people do you think?
If there was a card that was in question to be a 10, I bet you, there could be up to 20 people.
Is that it?
Yeah, so there's a PSA 10 Gretzky.
So who's the owner of that right now?
So that one, this guy, David Betts, bought a PSA 10 Topps rookie, and I don't know who owns the other one. But anyways, he bought it for 1.1, 1.2 last year. And people asked my thoughts. I did a couple other podcasts, and it was like, what should you do? Like, what do you think of that? And I'm like, well, long-term hold, there's only 2. PSA is going to be very scrupulous to give out another 10.
What does scrupulous mean?
That's a word I just made up.
Is it? Right,
I don't know.
I don't, my knowledge of words isn't the best.
So some people say they control the population, which absolutely they don't.
Yeah.
But to give out another one, like you said, maybe 20 eyes will be on that card from the graders. When that card comes through and a guy goes, guys, I looked at this. I think this is worthy of a 9 or 10. all of a sudden then you're going to get the team of guys. Everyone's going to look at it. They're going to go over that card. So when you look at the 2 10s and you look at the one that you just popped up there, that card was probably graded 15 years ago. So just my opinion, would that card, would it grade a 10 today? I don't think it would. And the reason behind is like, well, is it wrong? Did they do? No, absolutely they didn't. At the time when that card came in, say the 10 was worth, and they gave it 10, it was worth 5 or 10 grand, not 5 million. But at the time, it was the best Gretzky PSA has ever seen. So they've given out 7s, they've given out 8s, they've given out 9s, and all of a sudden this comes in, they're like, man, this is the nicest one we've seen. Yeah, this deserves a 10, and it did deserve a 10 at that time. There's grading standards that they follow, but at the end of the day, the 9 to 10 on those cards, like there's a lot of factors to take in.
What is it about a 10 though? Why is it a 10 compared to what is it? Is it
the
color? What? You know?
Yeah, everything. So there's four standards when you grade a card. So they look at. The first thing is centering. That's the one I always go with first because it's the easiest one to see. Like if you had the Sundin card, it's in a case.
Can you pull the Gretzky one back up?
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah,
oh yeah, yeah.
So centering.
So centering. So your eye can easily go like this has been in this case for a while. It's yellowed. You know, it tinned the old school top loaders. It doesn't affect the card. So when you look, your centering is your borders. So you go, yeah. Oh, perfect. So you're centering, you go your borders from top to bottom, left to right. So to be perfect card, a perfect centering, it's 50-50. So like on this one, you can see the white border from left to right. Looks like 50-50 centering. A lot of cards, it can go all the way down to 90-10. Like you can see a huge border. Even new cards now, if you bought a blaster at Walmart, you open it up, there's cards that have 80-20 center, and you're saying, how is this possible? But that's another topic we'll get into. But especially older O-Pee-Chee and Topps cards, they didn't care about the quality of the cards, especially back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s. O-Pee-Chee and Topps were the two manufacturers, and they weren't card companies. They were bubblegum companies, right?
Okay.
So they were in the game of how can we sell more bubblegum? What can we do? Let's add some pictures of guys on cardboard with our bubblegum that people look up to.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, that's how the whole evolution of it started, right? So yeah, back to that. So the criteria on centering, so you top to bottom, left to right, front and back, you can go on PSA's site to see their exact technical. Like the back can be off-centered a little bit to be a 10 still. It can be 60-40 or 70-30, I think, on the back. But the front has to be 55-45. So the next thing you look at is the corners. Obviously, corners that have a ding, have a touch, they'll affect the grade. Then you look at your surface. So surface of the card, is there any scratches on it? Is there any marks? Is there any... lots of different things surface could affect it. And last is your edges. So around the edges of a card. So one thing that it's really hard to tell is a lot of cards throughout the 80s and 90s where people collected them. My original collection of cards, I put elastics around them. That's what people did. You had your cards, you put elastic band, you put them in your shoebox. That's where they were. So elastic bands affect the edges, obviously, on the cards. So that's why you see cards number 1 in a set from the early years. Card number 1 or the last card in a set, usually we're on the top or the bottom. They're the ones that were affected a lot by elastic bands. So in a higher grade, they're tougher to get. They command a premium. So those are the 4 things. So you got surface, centering, edges, corners. So that's what they when they grade a card. That's the criteria it meets, and yeah, it's interesting. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Over the years, you said you got in the game when you were 15, or was it before 15? You just bought the store at 15.
Yeah, I bought the store at 15. So I collected. I always had cards, but I was big into sticker books. So we'd get our hockey stickers.
All right, so you're involved for a while.
Yeah. So my collection really started like 82, 83.
Yeah.
It was kind of there.
So over the years, like right now, is it at its peak right now? Or was there a time in the past where you thought the demand was even higher for the work that you're in? Like, and what creates these trends of up and down, up and down?
Yeah, so simple supply and demand. I mean, obviously is one of the big things, but I'm very bullish on the hobby. I see the money that's in the hobby. I see the people with money that's in it now. The bulk Walmart buying and grading, what I talked about earlier, I think those days are the flipper days of guys just buying stuff, not even knowing what it was. Like these guys didn't even know what cards were, and you didn't have to. You just made money. You know what I mean? It was it was that easy.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to see the hobby just maintain this steady rise. You know, it's not going to be what we've seen. If you look at the graphs, and I can show you some charts, like there's companies out there that Card Ladder is the one that I use, and Sports Card Investor. They have apps out there that show it just looks like a stock. So you can see the rise and fall of the rise and the gains and so forth. So this February 2021, February to April, we hit an all-time peak where like crazy. When you look at a graph on a card, I could show you. Probably show you after,
okay.
But you can see, and all of a sudden you're looking at this nice rise, and you can see things were really heating up in 2020. Cards were going up and up and up, and then all of a sudden you hit this gigantic, like incline that just went to a peak, and then when that happened, then you seen the decline started to come back. People say, "Oh, well, COVID was over. People are getting back to normal. There's less money out there," but it just the rise was just too fast on too many cards that shouldn't have hit that rise. Mm-hmm. So now, if you I did this on Collectible podcast on Sunday night with Jeremy Lee, we talked about it. I said, like, if you just eliminate February to April, what do you see? Like people ask if the market's declining. You just eliminate that 3-month span and it's just a continued growth. And it's nice because stability brings money in any market, right? When things are stable, like it was so crazy. Like, I mean, there was Topps Chrome LeBron James's rookie card was graded a PSA 10 was $2,000 2 years ago. And it hit in February 45K US. So the pop report on them, the population is pretty high. But so that card, you could have bought that card in January for 10 and you sold it in February, March for 45. So now that card's trading about 15K. So people are like, so it depends on how the narrative you want to put in the hobby. I couldn't be more bullish on the hobby. The hobby's awesome. People are like, oh, look, that card's down to $15,000 now. No, it was $2,000 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's up.
It's up. You could buy it for 10. That 40 peak, it was just crazy. And it's not like the old days. Like I'd buy a collection of cards from Bob back in his barn. I'd go home, I'd sort it, I'd price it, and I'd wait for the next card show at the Halifax Forum. And I'd be like, can't wait to get there. I'm going to sell some of this, get some of my money back. Like that was kind of that. Like that's what you looked for, and that was the way that you had to do things. Now you buy a card. If that Sundin was a PSA 10 card, I could post it on Facebook, eBay, any of the platforms out there, and I put $100 on a PSA 10 Sundin, and boom, someone would go, yep, PM, I want it. EMT, PayPal, done.
So you have almost like a set of responsibilities with your skill. You know, you could, if you want, grease some guy and go, yeah, give me $15,000 for this 10 Sundin. You have a responsibility to you.
Yeah. So my thing. So we don't grade the cards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't grade the cards.
Okay. Sorry. So
there's a set of skills. Could I be a card grader? Yeah, I'm sure I could be.
I think you could.
The problem they're having getting card graders is why would someone necessarily want guys that are in the marketplace can buy cards, grade them themselves, and flip them. So you have to, how much money was being made on that out there. So it was very hard for PSA to find graders. Guys like, man, I'm just going to keep on buying cards, traveling, buying cards, flipping them. Guys made millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like
there's an ethics behind it of hiring these people.
Right. Oh, absolutely. That's why they centralized all their cards are in Santa Ana. That's where they grade. All the cards are done there.
Okay.
So when the card goes through, the graders have no idea who the card came from. Yeah. They have no idea the service level they submitted at. They're grading the card, and then the card moves down the line.
It's like a casino blackjack dealer. Like there has to be ethics involved. It's
crazy.
It's very similar. Yeah. It sounds like.
Yeah, and we talked to people about that. Like a lot of cards, if I sent in 100 Gretzky rookies and we had a high res picture of all 100, and they came back all in one shipment, and we were like, oh, I don't know whose is whose because we submit them all in their own submissions. Mm-hmm. So it can't. I mean, anything's possible, but we have never had a mix-up of a card. But if they got all shuffled, I had no idea. There was no serial numbers. and you showed me those 100 pictures, it could take me a little bit of time, but within an hour or so, I could pick everyone's Gretzky's out because there's so many distinct features on that card. If you gave me 100 Matt Sundin Upper Deck rookies, I'd be like, no idea. So that's, I mean, when Nat Turner's group, Steve Cohen, who owns the Mets.
Stay humble.
Yeah, there you go.
He owns the Mets.
So he was part of the group. Nat Turner's now the CEO of of PSA. And they bought the company for $1 billion. Like, that's one of the things that I always tell people. It's like, guys, well, how do I know I'm going to get my card back? Well, the company sold for $1 billion. It's owned by this group of guys that are investing into the space and growing this company. Like, do you think they're going to switch out your Michael Jordan rookie? Like, Nat sold a company before that for $4 billion or $3 billion, and he's a true passionate. He's out on Instagram every day. The guy's just a true passionate, lifelong collector, huge in basketball. Loves 90s basketball cards.
Who doesn't? Well, not cards, but 90s basketball.
Yeah, he's probably got one of the best collections in the world. You know, I mean, I wouldn't even.
Where does he live?
He's in New York.
In New York.
Yeah. He puts himself out there a lot. Like, he's on a lot of podcasts showing his cards because he's a true fan of it. But like I said, yeah, he is a true collector.
Wow.
So, I mean, but you got cards that are like, when I say this, it's not no exaggeration. Cards are millions of dollars.
So when this guy travels, does he bring security with him? Like, how does he?
I think it's the same as anything. It's like, you know what? There's local guys here. We've got our billionaires. I've seen one of them today.
Yeah.
He's just hanging.
But if he like has the physical card, like, and he's going to a Vegas showcase, like, there's
not that, to tell you the truth, it's one of those, it is an area that there's security everywhere. It's like when you go to the National, I was at the National in Chicago this year, and I think there's 500-600 dealers, and it's massive. I think they put 125,000 people through the door. There's a lot of guys with security. There's a lot of security in place, but still not to the level that you would think. You know what I mean? Like, guys are walking around with they have briefcases. And when I say guys, it can be, you see 15-year-old kids walking around with a 50, 100K. Like,
we're doing it wrong, Jeff.
It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing when you see it. No matter if you ever get into the collectibles space, the Toronto Expo is unbelievable as well. But everybody should go see. If you like sports, just go see this. And stuff's all over the map. But you'll see, one guy had Ty Cobb set up. He had 15 of them. It was one of the big auction houses. But I was like, they're all like $500,000 a pop. You see, and they had the Honest Wagner card that just sold for $6 or $7 million. Like, everyday cards sell for millions of dollars, individual cards. And it's liquid, right? If you have them, you can sell them, right? So
my mind's blown away right now. Like, I'm just sitting here, don't even know what to ask next. I just can't. I keep looking at zeros in my head.
No, it is.
It's unbelievable.
And it's crazy. And a lot of guys, I went through with a lot of people that have been buying, trading, friends to become part of my family, really, and friends of mine. The question that I got, it was at the beginning of 2021. All of a sudden, you love your collection, right? You love your cards, but say your collection was $50,000. One of a good buddy of mine from here, his collection was $50,000, and he didn't want to sell his cards, but his collection went to $300,000. So then all of a sudden he's like, "What do I do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man." Like, I said honestly. And he chose, and he had some high-end stuff, and he chose, and he sold most of it at the peak, some on the way up to the peak, and then some on a little bit of decline. But it changed his life. Now,
it's a cottage on the lake.
He's mortgage-free, and he goes to work every day, doesn't stress over it. So he's buying back a lot of the cards now in lower grades, which satisfies his
need.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So.
That kind of goes back to my first question of the people that are owning these cards and what's their personality. Like, do they want to get rid of it? Do they have it for pride? Do they have it for ego? Like, what kind of people are in this game? But it sounds like what you're saying. It's everyone.
It is.
It's everyone. Yeah. It's the guy that had the card when they were a kid and just held on to it, and it turns out it's worth some money.
Yeah.
It just sounds like there's a whole lot of different personalities that are in this business.
There is. And when you watch now, now it's this new wave of new collectors, investors, and companies and athletes. And, you can watch Mark Wahlberg on YouTube buying boxes for a couple grand, $2,000, $3,000 of Prism, and his kids are in the back, and their packs are flying everywhere, and cards are flying. And people see that and like, Mark Wahlberg collects cards? Absolutely, Mark Wahlberg collects cards. Steve Aoki is one of the biggest Pokemon gaming card collectors in the world.
No way.
Like, his collection's just insane. They're actually, Jeff Wilson, who runs Sports Card Investor, did a tour of Aoki's house and his cards, and it was super cool to watch.
Oh, the one in Vegas. I've seen. I don't know if I've seen that video, but I've seen his house there.
Yeah.
That's
like
crazy.
I think it's Steve Aoki's party house, he calls it. But I remember we brought him here for a couple concerts at the Halifax Forum back, that got to be 10 years ago. It's funny how he has grown in his...
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Did
you see his documentary on Netflix?
No, I haven't watched it.
Oh, such a hard worker. Just so he'll like book a private jet from Seattle to Vegas, but he'll save money, so he'll buy a small jet, but make sure that the leg room in between can create a bed, just so he can save money and sleep on the floor. And like the guy could afford anything, but he's just a grinder. He was like, you should watch it. It's on Netflix. Sure. It's cool.
Yeah, he was 25. I remember we brought him here. I think I'm going to say $2,500.
What?
Is what we brought him here for. That would be 10 years ago.
How much do you pay him? If you don't mind me asking.
No, that's what we paid him. $2,500.
Oh, I thought you meant just to like get him.
No, that was what we paid. $2,500 all in.
10 years ago?
Yeah, I was gonna say 10. We had him at the multi-purpose center at the Halifax Forum.
Time flies.
Yeah, I think we did it twice. He was here, I think, and I remember it was awesome because it was actually a good moneymaker because people just loved this guy, and he was the nicest guy you could ever meet. And he'd just go on and put on this hell of a show, and his career just took off. But when you go back to guys that are collecting, athletes are collecting. Athletes are all in the space now. They're buying part of these companies. Jay-Z is one of the big investors now with CGC, another company. It's almost hard to name an athlete that's not part of it now. Like, it's really good. Josh Donaldson is a huge collector, loves cards.
No way.
But you'd be surprised. Jack Eichel is one of the biggest memorabilia guys out there.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He was in Halifax this summer.
It was, you know what? I obviously being a Canadian and being McDavid, and I remember the controversy between who was better. Eichel was the American, McDavid was the Canadian. I was like, I don't like this cocky Eichel guy. He thinks he's better than McDavid. And then all of a sudden there was a show that I seen him. It was a clip, and it showed him at an all-star game, and he was running around taking banners off the wall in the locker room and getting some guys to sign. He's like, man, this is the coolest stuff ever. And I just I love this guy now. Right?
That's amazing.
Like stuff that I do, all of a sudden be like, can I have that? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's cool. Right?
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I think Dale Hubly, the Moosehead collector, Dale.
Yeah.
Crazy collection.
So
yeah. I've sold him stuff over the years, and his collection of Mooseheads and Voyagers and Citadel stuff now is just. Did he get? I didn't listen to it. Did he get?
Oh, he got a lot of. I had people reach out to me. You know Stan Henniger by any chance?
Absolutely.
So he messaged me. He's like, I got a bunch of stuff that he'd love. So I connected those two, and now those two guys are talking. And now, but a bunch of people reached out just wanting to give him stuff.
Yeah.
And he said I never would have thought of that, but.
Yeah,
he's just the type of guy that people love and people trust and want him to have it. I keep encouraging him, or not keep. I told him on the podcast he has to open up his own shop.
Yeah,
like people would love to go in there, pay $25, go see everything. I don't know. There's a business there waiting.
Yeah. No, he's a true collector. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's a super nice guy, and he loves the stuff, and he gets excited. And it's not necessarily the value. It's with him and a lot of collectors. It's not the value. It's more the uniqueness. You know what I mean? Like, value does play a part in it, obviously, but he could find something that he doesn't have that's like $1 or $2 or $5 and be super excited.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love that.
Like, I still say my favorite card, people say, what's your favorite card of all time? Gretzky rookie is because there's so much history and story. My favorite baseball card of all time, it's a simple question. 1989 Flair, Billy Ripken. And people kind of go, what? Billy Ripken? Like, who's Billy Ripken? Cal's brother? Yeah, it's Cal's brother. But in 1989, he had a card came out by Flair. I don't know if you would remember this. No,
I'm in the dark.
Yeah, you'd be complete. So it was the first time they ever issued an error, there was lots of errors on cards before, things that they shouldn't. But on the bat, Billy Ripken's standing there with the bat. He's got it on the bottom of the bat. It says F face.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
But the full thing's spelled out, so it's on the bottom of the bat, and all of a sudden the card gets released. It's just a base card. People are like, "What is going on? Like, you can't have this out there. So Flair had a recall, and then they scribbled out there's a blackout version, there's a whiteout version, but the air card still, the card jumped to like $500 or $1,000 or whatever it was back in '89, which was just crazy. And it was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. It was like, baseball card gets released, and they corrected the error. But the history behind that card, I just love, because I was part of that. I remember going, oh my God, I wonder if I can ever get that '89 Flair Billy Ripken and sell it, and instantly like sell it for $500. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So where'd you find that card at?
So I've had lots of them over the years, and it went down. At one point, it was like $20. I think now it's probably selling $50, $60 for the card. But it's just the story, the history behind it.
Yeah.
Prime example: a PSA 10 of that card probably sells for $500 or $600.
No.
Where the base card sells for $50.
I see. Okay.
You get about 10x on that.
Man, so the PSA name, it's a household name. It's just that it's everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy what they can do.
And
the power they have.
Yeah, and the company is called Collectors. It was Collectors Universe, and they dropped the Universe part, and they're just going to be called Collectors now.
Okay.
But PSA is one division. The sports card grading is one division of this company. They have PSA DNA, which authenticates autographs and does encapsulation of autographs, jerseys. They'll do everything there. The other is PCCG, which is the coin division. So they authenticate and grade coins. They just authenticated within the last 6 months. This one might confuse you, but an actual Bitcoin. There's actually a physical Bitcoin they made, and PSA authenticated, right, and it sold for $60 million or something like that. It's just
craziness.
So that's a big part. And then now the other thing they just bought is they bought Wada Games. So Wada Games was the leader in this space. These guys started this company. They grade video games. So graded video games. So PSA bought them, and now they're in they're bringing that company to Santa Ana to start working out of. But you'll see the sales. If you put in Super Mario Brother 3 video game sale, 1.6 million just sold for. Yeah.
What's the number one website you get information from?
Honestly, there's not really any one website.
Like, where do you get
It's just being part of the hobby.
So people reach out to you reach out to people, conversations you have. Like, you're very knowledgeable, but on a wide base of things.
Yeah. Like the Wada one threw me for a little. I always thought, I was never a gamer, but I always thought video games are cool. And I did the Tiger Woods golf growing up. That was the extent of my game. Super Mario Brothers, everyone knows it. But all of a sudden you've seen this rise, and you just kind of say, what's happened? And then I seen the picture of this Super Mario 3 when it first sold for $700K, I think it was. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's that yellow game. I'm like, I definitely had that game. It's just, now the thing, and when you see that, everyone that could be listening, I got that game. It's $1.5 million. It's sealed, and it's graded the highest grade, a 9, I think a 9.8 or 9. I think it's a 9.8, which is the highest grade. They grade on a different scale. Yeah. But it's the highest grade one out there, and it's the only one graded a 9.8. So when you create that marketplace, all it takes is 2 people that want that, right? So what's it worth? Why is it worth $1.5 million? No, it might only be worth $100,000, but 2 people wanted it, and they went toe to toe. I think it was Heritage Auctions that sold it, and just said, and to them, maybe that's like saying you want something or I want something that's, I'll splurge. I'll spend $100 on that bottle of wine, but that's really only worth $10. But I pay 10x because I wanted to be the guy that night, and I wanted to have that bottle of wine. At the level of these players, it's like, I wanted to have that. I wanted to have that game.
That's crazy.
So now in the back, what I've been starting to do is, it could be completely wrong, but I've been being a hockey guy, I've been trying to buy sealed video games of any of the hockey games out there.
So like 99, 98, like back like PlayStation.
So, so I've got I even went back even older school. So I've got in Intellivision started with ice hockey. Atari had their ice hockey game. So I bought the highest graded Atari ice hockey game, graded a 9.8. So people were like, what'd you pay for it? I paid $300. And I was like, you know what? Back to what I just said. It just takes, someone might be out there that says, I want to have the highest graded video game of every hockey game. So who knows? I could be, maybe it'd be worth $100 next time we chat, right?
So what do you have? Do you have like a warehouse? Do you have like a basement? What's your holding place like?
No, so the store is AMG Collectibles, is the retail store in the Bedford Place Mall. So most of my stuff I just have with me.
You just have it with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And again, I lived in Williamswood and prior, and we'd have more people over, and I can say this, the amount of we'd have, we had the pools in the backyard and the parties and the this and that. I've never had anything that I know has ever gone missing. And that's, there's times we'd have 100, 150 people at the house. And, I had some super cool things like, from the first Marilyn Monroe Playboy, which always was one of my favorite things because that could resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Here's the first Playboy ever.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, let me take a look at it. It was Marilyn on the cover. And people would, even if you weren't into sports or you weren't into collecting, everyone thought that was kind of cool.
That's iconic.
Yeah. I mean, I did autograph stuff from like Alexander Graham Bell to Abe Lincoln, different things, but I always had them on display. And things always kind of worked themselves out. When I think about it now, it's like, oh, that was probably not the best idea.
That's crazy.
But,
I just want to hang out with you for the day. I just want to know what you do. Yeah. Your life is
awesome.
nuts.
Yeah.
What's your day like? Like, what do you wake up and you like? I feel like a lot of people message you. I feel like you're a type of guy where people are looking to bounce ideas off you.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, all the time. And now that I've moved on to the next chapter to do this full time.
Yeah.
Like when I look at it, I'm like, why didn't I do?
Earlier.
And I've always done it, but why did I not do this even sooner? Because the joy you get up every day going to work, it's like, you know what? I'm sure you guys are loving what you're doing right here as well.
Love it.
Like that's exciting. You know what I mean? And it's fun to go to work every day. There is the other side. Like you said, do people ever yell at you? Do people ever, oh yeah, we've got those guys. You know what I mean? But that's the nature of the beast. You got to roll with the punches. But,
yeah.
So yeah, we get up, we start, shipping is usually number one. This morning I was at FedEx and UPS and Canada Post because everyone that wants to get cards back, they have their preferred carrier. The guy, one of the packages went out to a guy today and where was it at? And it was somewhere in Newfoundland, and UPS called and they're like, we just can't get that package to that guy.
It's too remote.
So I texted him. I said, can we ship it somewhere else? Like, or do you want me to take it to Canada Post? Anyways, that stuff happens a lot. So yeah, so we go through the shipping and then it's answering calls and back and forth. And it's busy. And the one thing representing Canada, obviously people forget about now is the time change. We get lots of guys that just want to talk. I've got I think he's 85. He's in Winnipeg. He likes to call me usually late at night just to chat. He's a good customer, good guy, but he's got health problems. He's on dialysis, and
we all know those people.
And you like, do you ever? I'm like, no, I got all the time in the world for this guy. Yeah. I talk to him a couple times a week. He's pretty much submitted all his cards. I don't even think he's going to submit anything. Last time he was like, think I'll have them back before I die, and I was like, Al, no, like it's okay. We're going to get these back for you. You're going to have some fun. Anyways, we got all the stuff back. But I mean, that's all part of, who we are as Haligonians and Nova Scotians. And you know what? It's maybe the hockey culture that is instilled in us. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
You got lots of time for people. It doesn't matter if they're the biggest customer, the lowest customer, or they submit one card or they submit nothing. They just want to answer. They want help answering their questions. Because everybody now, the perception is, I've got this $1 million card, right? I've got a Gretzky rookie, it's $5 million. Well, no, it's not. You know what I mean? The Gretzky rookie that I had that I bought in 1989 from Blue Nose Coin Shop on the corner of Almond Street in Windsor, down in the basement. This guy Dennis owned it. I used to go in there Saturday mornings, hang out for a couple hours. I think when I look back at it now, it was good for him because he'd put me to work. I'd build boxes. I'd just be hanging out in his card store, and from mom and dad just say, we can ditch him for 2 hours every Saturday. Just drop him. It was like free babysitting.
Free babysitting. Yeah, that's hilarious.
So I bought that card for $70, my Gretzky rookie. I still think, like, when you ask, it's graded a PSA 7 now. I had it graded probably 5 or 6 years ago. In my mind, that card is one of the nicest still cards. Like, I still think it should be an 8, maybe a 9 on the outside chance. Like, it's gorgeous. I did resubmit it, which you can do. You can take a card and resubmit it. And
when did you submit it?
I submitted it probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, so you got it back. Okay.
Yeah, so I got it back, and then I resubmitted it about 3 or 4 years ago again. So I get them to review it because I thought it should be a higher grade.
Yeah.
I spent my money for the review, and my card came back, and they said no.
So do you find out as soon as you open up the box and they give it back to you? Like, is that the moment you find out? You don't get an email? Like,
yeah.
Right? The little case that they have on
Yeah.
So
that's how you find out.
Absolutely. So now it's online. Like before, it was Len Potty, who ran PSA Canada for 21 years before I took it over. I was like his number one customer. I it was old school. You didn't get an email. You didn't get anything. You just pick the box up, and as fast as you can open the box, you see your grades, right? So, yeah, there's many times I shouldn't. I could say this. I'd be on the road. Some people would be eating a cheeseburger. I'd be driving with my knees in the steering wheel, just cracking these boxes, trying to see. Did I get 10's? Did I get 10's? Did I get 10's? Right? It's crazy to see. But so one of the other things, too, I talked about it earlier, is you authenticate the card, you get a numerical grade, but your card's encapsulated and it's protected. So it's in a plastic case. So if you had the Gretzky there, I could slide it across the table to you. Again, obviously, you don't want to scratch up the case and so forth, but it's encapsulated in there and their card is protected. So that's a big thing that people have. So when you have your collection, you just feel better about it. You don't have to worry about someone dropping it, and you can show it and you can share it. And now there's services all over. There's vaulting services where you can they store your cards, just like collectibles and art and everything else. So you get digital images. Like you could flip through someone's collection right here on the TV screen.
Because
of the value.
I was gonna talk to you about NFTs too and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm completely lost.
Okay.
And honestly, like I keep saying, like I missed the boat. Why didn't I get? Like this isn't kind of in my space, but I'm like I'm not a digital guy per se, but. Yeah. I feel like I missed the boat. Same as Bitcoin. Like when you think about those things, it's like, I go, it's not too late. It's not too. And maybe because I'm a lifelong collector as well, it's just not for me. And
which is fine.
I like tangible. Like I like having things in my hands. I think that's part of the collectability of it.
Yeah.
You can, and again, all that. Yes, you can do it. You can trade them. You can store them. You can get printouts. You can do all this stuff. I just don't. I've never taken the time to educate myself on it. And I get asked that question all the time. And I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I know, I understand what they are. My head just doesn't go to that space.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
And it's complicated. I signed up and I was like, I'm going to start to buy some of these things. I'm like, so I signed up for a company, Erythrium or whatever. And then I was going to buy it. And I was like, I just got lost.
Yeah,
right?
there's a lot to it.
Yeah. And that's the same, I guess when I look at it, it's like, the service that I'm offering people that are lost on the card grading side of things. I want to make it easy for them. Like I want to talk to that 85-year-old guy in Winnipeg. Just say, I just want to get my card graded. Mm-hmm. No problem. You can just send it to me.
There's a simplicity factor.
Don't
behind
fill
it.
out anything. Yeah. Take a picture of your card. Just send it to me, and I'll take care of everything else for you. So that's very satisfying on that end of it. And you'd be amazed. Like we pick up packages all the time. We take them to our secure facility that we have here. Because when we're dealing with other people's property, there's a lot of times you get packages coming in, but guys send a lot of stuff that I don't even know who they are. I didn't even know it was coming. I pick up their box and I'm like, wow, like there's a lot of stuff in here. I mean, it's big dollar values, right?
Wow.
So yeah, super cool.
We got to do like a behind the scenes video with you just on a day to day. I think that would be really cool. Just seeing what you do and how you do it and how you go about it. Go to FedEx with you, pick up a box. I don't know. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah. I can send that over. I can send to you guys too some of the links that, when you asked, how do you want to get more knowledge in this space? And it's such a big part of it now, but there's certain people that you can follow out there that do a really, really good job
of explaining it.
Explaining the whole collectible industry and what's going on. Like every day, there's about 10 guys that I watch their clips that post 4 or 5 times a week on YouTube. So I'll go in and watch their episode because it's all the breaking news, the new news, what's happening, what's here. The biggest news this week was the Logan Paul Pokemon case.
Oh, I saw that this morning, actually.
Yeah, so like that's big news in the even though like we grade a ton of Pokemon cards, it's a huge business. So yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like but he paid $3.5 million, right?
Everyone has this though, Jeff. It's nothing special, buddy.
So you know what which is good. Like
be some gems in there.
There could be. So this is what I always say. Instantly, like most of those are 90. They look kind of like 99.
Oh, that one's got to be worth something.
Yeah. So there's the Pokemon 1999 Pokemon Charizard graded PSA 10's 400,000.
Do you have a Charizard in here?
My brother mentioned that he went to a movie theater when he was a kid, and he got a shiny Mewtwo from the movie theater of all places, like a movie premiere.
Absolutely.
And it was like his favorite card ever. It's not in that book.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's his childhood memory, and he's like, I was going to a movie, and like that was the best card I ever got. I don't know where it was. I looked for it, but it was like a shiny Mewtwo. And
yeah.
If you're gonna talk, pull the mic up. If you're talking,
Yeah.
Is it going your mic? Okay, but yeah, that's.
So I can guarantee this is something that people should look for. That would be listening to your podcast. 1999 was the first year for Pokemon's like first edition cards that came out. There was some other ones before that. There was Digimon, which digital Pokemon, like all kinds of different things. Pocket Monster. But 1999 is the year. In Halifax, there is 1999 first edition Charizards in people's collections in Halifax. They're all over. And a PSA 10's between 250,000 to 500,000 now for PSA 10.
Wow.
And those cards are out here.
In Halifax.
They are definitely in Halifax.
Within a 15-minute drive of me, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, they're there. And I always say people, like, you might not be able to find the 1951 Parky, Gordie Howe rookie. Like, again, those still come, but that's a lot of time. But people's Pokemon collections, people are buying the first edition packs here in 1999. Like, those cards are out there.
I remember it. Sorry, keep going.
No, it's good.
I remember in elementary, the Pokemon cards used to be so popular that they had to take them from kids because kids wouldn't be paying attention in school. They would have their Pokemon cards and they'd be hustling in school, in class, trading. Same with marbles. Like, it was an actual problem. I remember, like, there was a parent-teacher meeting because of Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Like, kids weren't doing school. They were just learning how to sell, which is honestly probably a good thing. They're learning to pitch and sell.
100%.
But I just remember back then they were so popular. Like, kids wouldn't. There was like theft issues too, like because kids would go, "Let me see your pack," and then I'd say, "Let me see your pack," and then some kids would just, boop, "Oh yeah, okay, here you go." And I remember like there was an issue. Oh man, it was a huge thing back in the day, huge.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's still there now. Like when you talk about it from an educational standpoint, like we went up to the Toronto show and two 17-year-old guys came up with me for this. This was their first experience. I said, "Come on up to the show and you're going to experience the 4-day national card show." And these guys, I said, "You're going to make some money." And they're buyers and flippers. So they said, "Well, give us the ropes. Just do what you do here." So they went around the show. They were buy a card for 100, flip it to this guy for 150, buy a card for 100. They probably both made $5-10 grand on the weekend from buying and selling and hustling. And you know what? And it teaches them all these things about business. Buy low, sell high, take your profits, take it off the table. So like when you look at that, it's such an educational thing. It's dollars and cents. Like we have the trade night at AMG, and we're starting another one that we're going to do just for children under 13, where they can come in and we'll monitor the transactions just to make sure that there's not too much. But it's all about that. And how do I get that $1,000 card now? It's like, well, I got to trade up, and you hear that saying a lot with kids. Like I had a 10-year-old in yesterday, 10 years old, and he was like, "I'm going to trade up to get myself," and he wants a LeBron rookie. And I was like, "Yeah, you're going to trade up?" And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Right now," I said, "What's your card at right now?" And he showed me at a Carmelo Anthony, and it's worth about $100. And he goes, "It's amazing when you think about it." At 10, he said, "Yeah." He goes, "I started with $5," and he told me how he got the Carmelo. So he started with $5. He bought cards from me out of the dollar box. He flipped them for 15. He goes, "Then I had a RJ Barrett card that I got for 15, went for 30. He told me the whole transaction, how he has this $100 card. So in his mind, he wants a LeBron that's $15K. But he's looking at it. I don't even know if he's registering the dollar and cents of it, but he's like, I got to do maybe about another 30 transactions and I can get that card. You know what I mean? It's so nice to see this. And it's like,
that kid's going to be all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be all right.
Absolutely. There's another young guy that's 17 here in Halifax. And he's been, he hasn't had the easiest life, that's for sure. And more or less a couple of years ago, I gave him some product and said, "Yeah, you can just take it." I said, "Sell it and come back and see me." And I just had a good feeling about him. I said, worst case, I never see this kid again. He's gone. So he went and he did that. And I mean, this guy has just turned his whole life around, and he's a little hustler, and he's out there making money, and he's made a lot of money. Like a lot of money by doing this. And every day, like there's a text message coming through. And now it's like, it was funny when we started, it was like, I bought a $20 card or the $50 or the $100 or the $100 box. Now it's like, yeah, I bought a case for 10 grand. I razzed it for 11. I made $1,000 yesterday. And I'm just like, and you're watching these transactions and you're watching them go through, and it's educational. Right?
And it's like, how do you say to that kid, "Yeah, you got to go to school"? And it's like, but he's already making $2,000 a day.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're his parents, what do you Yeah, let's go spend $100K on your education to go to university to come out, and it's tough right now. Yeah. You can't say that to these kids.
Absolutely. So he found his way. So he's more or less now he's saying, "I've realized I want to get into real estate. I said, you know what? Absolutely perfect for you. Because there's an evolution. You're going to come from cards, and who knows what's going to happen. The hobby's always going to be there. The collectibles are always the high-end stuff with the new money that's in there. It's always going to be around, and people just like cool stuff.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be there. But is there guys like, can he make 50, 100 grand a year buying and flipping like he has the past couple? You don't know, right? You know what I mean? Who knows? Maybe he can even make more when it's all said and done. But yeah.
Wow. Brad, this was awesome.
Yeah.
Like my mind's blown right now. I'm definitely gonna look into this business as a side hustle. I guess that's crazy.
Yeah. So I collect local guys as well. Like I always try to collect local cards of local players. Yeah. So when I was going through your list, I was looking at the guys who I have cards. Like I'm like, yeah, I got pretty much everybody that I could have has cards. What do you mean list of? The list of all your guys' podcasts. Oh yeah. So I was going through. I went through the whole thing. It was like what three some. How many? What number is it? 360. This is 368. Yeah, 369. So I've got a great Shane Bowers collection, who's a good buddy. I mean, I grew up with his whole family. Oh yeah, he lives down the road, or his family does. Yeah, Dad. They grew up in Herring Cove. I played with Peter, and I know and played hockey with Scott, his dad. That's fun. Shane's great, but I have a great Shane Bowers collection. Oh, do you? What about the Jake Sanford? Oh yeah, we got a Jake Sanford signed card over there. Does it degrade it if it's signed? There you go. I'm going to see Jake today. Actually. Are you? Yeah. Oh, he's still here? I thought he was in Tampa. No, he's supposed to be back today. He's texting me. He's got a bunch of those cards. Yeah, and he's a card collector. Is he? Yeah. I know he said he's something about shoes too. He's like he likes shoes, but yeah, I didn't know he's a card collector. That's funny. Yeah, that's it. That's part of the evolution. The sneaker craze. I mean, sneaker heads are everywhere. Yeah. So my daughter acquired her first investment pair of sneakers at Christmas. So. Oh yeah. Yeah. The Ben and Jerry Nikes. Limited edition. Sound about. We had a guy, East Coast Kicks. They had we had him on and. It's kind of similar to what you're talking about, like with the flipping game. Like it's unbelievable with the kids, he said, that come into him and the amount of knowledge that they're giving to him. He's a 30-whatever-year-old man, and absolutely. These kids have the knowledge, man. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Brad, I want to thank. How much time are we at? Well, how long was that? Hour 10 minutes. Jesus. Sorry, I didn't. No, that was awesome. You killed that. I cleaned the schedule till 1 o'clock. I was like, I don't know. It's funny because there's certain podcasts that I do with. Jeremy, usually his podcasts are 2 hours, which is Sports Cards Live, which he does a really good job. And he's based in Alberta. Oh yeah. His podcasts are all card. Oh yeah. But then because I'm Carlos is a very knowledgeable, educational guy I really like, but his podcast run like 5 hours. It's like he wants to be the longest since Friday nights. I'm like, it's 2 a.m. I didn't sleep well. I'll just jump on, have a little chat with them, and then go off. Right? So, awesome. Well, Brad, thank you very much for coming on. You're welcome back anytime. If you don't want to come back, I'm going to force you. We still got to have these conversations. This was awesome. I really do appreciate your time. You guys do a great job, and I appreciate being here. Yeah, thank you very much. Everyone, thank you for tuning in once again. It's Wednesday, halfway through the week, hump day. Work hard, have fun, flip cards, get out, enjoy the weather. Awesome. Whatever you got to do. We are out. Peace. Boom.